Rising radicalism and terrorism in Africa has become one of the biggest threats to peace in the African continent. In a recent case, more than 80 people were killed in attacks by suspected Islamist rebels in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The incidents of violence by the Allied Democratic Forces are reported in several villages of the North Kivu province of the country. In recent years, the African continent has come increasingly under attacks by terrorist groups that are now exploiting political and financial instability in many African countries.
In a recent incident in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, more than 80 people have been killed. Members of the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, attacked the villages of Masala, Mapasana and Mahini. The attackers, armed with guns and machetes, assaulted the residents of the villages in the Beni territory.
The assailants arrived in the village during the day. They came from the bush where they started killing people before arriving here at the center. When they arrived at the hospital where we were, we heard the crackling of bullets, and that's how we fled.
Intensified attacks by the ADF aligned with the Islamic State has further destabilized the area. The forces are behind multiple attacks that have killed 17 in the village of Masavu, 5 in the villages of Kabveli and Namulesi, and 6 in Munuzi. The total number of victims has risen to 82. People attacked by these rebels fled their homes to take refuge in neighborhoods in the western part of the city of Beni. Hospital of the nearby region was packed with patients, including the injured. The attack was followed by a foot patrol by members of armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo, urging villagers to remain in their homes. The government needs to further take urgent action on the killings and find a political solution by accelerating efforts. Amidst the political instability sweeping across Africa, the Islamic State terrorist group continues to be a significant threat. Its expanding operations also endanger the conflict zones of Southeast Asia, further escalating regional tensions and insecurity. The impact of regional terrorism in South Asia has been the highest globally. Sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East and North Africa, and South Asia account for 94% of deaths from terrorism in 2023. With just under 4,000 deaths by terrorism in the Sahel in the year 2023, which is 47 of the total deaths by terrorism, the epicenter of terrorism is now the Central Sahel region of Sub-Saharan Africa. As per key findings from the Global Terrorism Index 2024 report, underlining the strong link between conflict and terrorism, over 90% of terrorist attacks and 98% of terrorism deaths in 2023 occurred in the conflict zones. Deaths from terrorism in Africa have skyrocketed. In the past 7 years, Sub-Saharan Africa has recorded the most deaths from terrorism. In 2023, Africa witnessed an average of 8 terror-related incidents, with 7,000 civilians and 4,000 military personnel killed in attacks. It is to be noted that casualties from militant Islamist violence in Africa rose by 20% last year. There are inadequate resources in the region of Africa, with limited food, water and healthcare services, making survival difficult for the residing population. There is an urgent need for international response towards the people living in misery. Organized crime, armed rebellion, unconstitutional changes of government, illegal maritime activities and environmental crisis are driving insecurity in the region. The world needs to extend support to the impacted zones to bring stability and strengthen the global South nations of Africa.
We will